Welcome back to the command line, and today I'm going to show you one of the key things that you will probably want to do an awful lot of when you're on the command line, and that is that you will want to see the contents of files. I'm not going to go into editing the contents of files at this point because that's way more complicated. We'll just have a look at the tools that you can use to view text files in particular. So let's get started. We're going to just do a quick refresher. Remember that we can cd to the command line folder that we created using the mkdir command, and I use tab complete there, so we learned that in the last video hopefully. So I can type a little bit of what I want to see, press tab to complete it, then press return, and remember pwd shows me where I am so I can check I'm in the right place. And we've downloaded in here our WordPress install, and we've got all the default WordPress files. Now I might want to see, for example, what is in the WP config sample. That's a file that you would normally possibly edit. Well, actually you'd normally use a tool to edit it for you, but let's imagine that we're trying to edit or view this file from the command line. And I can do this using a number of tools. So the first tool is called cat, and cat is short for concatenate, and I'll explain that in a moment. But I can cat wp-con, and then I can tab to complete, but there's more than one completion. So I need to put wp-conf for config and then tab, and I can complete that. And cat will just open that file and dump the contents of that file into the terminal, just like that. So it's gone right from the top of the file. So this is where I typed my cat command. I scroll back up, and if I use my smoother scrolling over here, so you can see the contents of that file. Now that's a bit tricky because that's whooshed past. It's just dumped the whole thing all at once, and so that's not very intelligent. So there's a different tool which you can use to look at files called more. And if I do more and then the file name, which was wp-conf and then tab to complete. Okay, I'm now looking at the top of the file. So this is the opening PHP tag and the opening comment, and it's printed down here the name of the file that I'm looking at. And I can, this is a bit like when I showed you man, I can use up and down arrows to navigate through this file. So I'm using down and up there, but I can also tab through it a bit faster using the space key, which will do a page at a time. And there's then a whole bunch of other commands. If we press the H key, then that gives us a really useful reference or summary of all of the commands. And this is actually open inside less itself, so I can do down arrow and up arrow and press Q when done, and that gets me back to my document. But the key one that you want is that if you press the Q key, then that will quit out of that system and it will put you back on the command line. Now, this tool is also, as well as more, it was an evolution of the more tool called less. It was called less because less is more, but they're effectively the same tool now. So you can also type less and the file name like that, and that opens up exactly the same thing. Another thing that we can do inside here is we can search. So if I do a / and then search for something, to say I want to look for debug, I can / debug and then press return, and then that will find me wp debug. And if there's more than one instance, I can just do further slashes to find my way through them. And there's loads of commands. This is quite a sophisticated tool for navigating around the contents of text files. So there's loads of stuff that you can do here. Now I also alluded to the fact that cat doesn't just show you a file, it's actually for concatenating files. So you can use this to concatenate files together. So if I were to cat wp config sample and the license.txt together, then it would actually dump them both to the screen at once. So there is the license, and if I keep scrolling up past the top of the license, you'll see here's the config here, look. And there's our command that we ran to concatenate them together. So the cat is actually a tool which is intended to be used to take two text files and put them into one. So you can actually then, you can output this to somewhere else. So this is a bit of syntax that you can use on the command line to create a new file. And I now, if I ls -l, I can see I've got a file new.txt that I created by sending the output of cat into new.txt, and I can then, well, I could less new.txt, and then I can page my way through the output of that concatenation, which is the config followed by the license, and so there we go. So thing to remember really is that you need to use less to look at new files. That's generally the best way to do it, or if you can't remember less, remember more. Put your file name in, space to page through it, up and down to scroll through it line by line, and Q, importantly, gets you out and back to the command line.